Hello and welcome back to another in-depth weather video. If you like this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, hit the bell to never miss another in-depth weather video. Now let's go in-depth into Tropical Storm Cristobal. Here I am on the National Weather Service page. Let's look in here. We have tropical storm warnings in most of the coastal areas. This is including Baton Rouge, New Orleans, New Iberia, and Houma, as well as Macomb. We have storm surge warnings in areas on the coast and in New Orleans. Storm surge watches on the southern coast. We also have flood advisories in spots, and we also have flash flood watches in all of these areas. Next up, we're going to look into, we're actually going to look into a little bit west of there. We're going to look into, here we go, Mobile, Pensacola area. So, Mobile and Pensacola are both under tropical storm warnings, and including areas of Hattiesburg and the Funiac Springs are under flash flood watches and high surf warnings. Next up, here is the current radar. Now, everything up here, this is all not part of Cristobal. Now, Cristobal is right here in Florida, Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, and Louisiana. Now, here's Cristobal. Currently, 50-mile-an-hour winds, central pressure of 993 millibars, moving north at 12 miles an hour. Here we have wind speed probabilities. So, most of these areas on the coast have a higher than 50% chance of seeing tropical storm force winds. Areas along the coast of Louisiana have a 90% plus chance. Now we do have the storm track going to make landfall in Louisiana and kind of take this curved route into Canada. Now, peak surge, 1 to 3 feet along the coastline from the Mobile area down to Marco Island, actually Ocean Springs to Marco Island. From Ocean Springs to the mouth of the Mississippi, 3 to 5 feet. And from Morgan City to the mouth of the Mississippi, 2 to 4 feet. That is the expected storm surge. And I'm just going to read the key messages here. There is a danger of life-threatening storm surge outside of the hurricane and storm damage risk reduction system from the mouth of the Mississippi River to Ocean Springs, Mississippi, and a storm surge warning is in effect for those areas. Life-threatening storm surge remains possible in other portions of the southern and southeastern Louisiana, where a storm surge watch is in effect. Residents in these locations should follow advice given by local emergency officials. 2. Tropical storm force winds are expected to begin overnight along the northern Gulf Coast from central Louisiana to the western Florida Panhandle, including metropolitan New Orleans, and a tropical storm warning is in effect for this area. These winds will arrive well in advance of and extend well east of Cristobal's center. 3. Heavy rainfall will continue from central to north Florida overnight, spreading from east to west across the central and Gulf Coast from the Florida Panhandle into Louisiana on Sunday. This heavy rain will move into the lower Mississippi Valley on Monday and across the upper Mississippi Valley and northern plains into Tuesday. Significant flooding will be possible on smaller rivers, especially where heavier rainfall occurs over portions of the Gulf Coast through the Mississippi Valley. Now we're going to go into Tropical Tidbits NAM 3-kilometer model, and we're going to be zooming in specifically on the southeastern U.S. here is Cristobal. As you can see, rain bands already affecting the area. The center of the storm is still offshore, and that'll be slowly moving into the Louisiana area. This is about landfall. This is 22 Zulu, which you subtract 4 for Eastern time and 5 for Central. So that is 6 p.m. Eastern, and that would be 5 p.m. Central, because there is both time zones in play here. That's when this storm will be making landfall approximately. This only goes by hours, so we can't get a minute-by-minute update. And then it kind of hangs around the coastline for a bit here. So here it is, it makes landfall, and it kind of just hovers, which means that the eastern side of the storm, because of the rotation of the storm, will be moving over the Gulf, picking up more moisture, and then coming on land and dumping that moisture, as you can see here. Then we start to see that northern trend starting at about 11 Eastern, 10 Central on Sunday. But this storm will not be over, and specifically for the New Orleans area. I think that New Orleans is going to be hard hit, and there is storm surge in place, there's flash flood in place, there's tropical storm warnings in place all over New Orleans. I think that the New Orleans area, the Gulf Coast of Mississippi and Alabama, those are the areas. This, like, what I'm circling with my cursor here, right in this area is going to be the hardest hit from this storm. Even though it is going to make landfall over here, it's just to the east of where it is making landfall that will be highest affected, and that includes New Orleans. Now this kind of keeps its thunderstorm concentration pretty well as it starts to move inland, and we could even see some thunderstorm, pretty impressive thunderstorms coming out of this as it starts to kind of get away from that perfect circle and forms into a tropical depression as it starts to move north. Now, total accumulated precip. This has shifted, so now the heaviest rainfall is going to be in the western part of the Mississippi Gulf line coast and eastern Louisiana, also including New Orleans, is the heaviest rain. And we also have our surface winds all the way back to the start here. Let's just wait for it to load up. Also going to be very high in the New Orleans area. As you can see here, this is between the New Orleans area. We'll see between, I'd say between 16 and 30 knot winds, and especially as this starts to come on shore, we'll see a high concentration of wind. So by the time you're seeing this, it might be too late. But if you are in the New Orleans area, if you're in the Gulf Mississippi area, if you're in the Gulf Alabama area, just along the Gulf Coast here, I'd say maybe 50 to 100 miles from the coast, please evacuate. Even though it's a tropical storm, it can pack a pretty good punch. And let's actually go to here. This is wave height. This is the closest that we can kind of get to storm surge. But we're going to see in this 15 to 21 foot area. And obviously as it gets further inland, that'll diminish. But at its peak, we're going to see very high waves on the shoreline right here, even in parts of Florida, kind of right in here. going to see high wind, high amounts of rain, heavy storm surge. So if you live in any, I'm thinking that specifically these areas of the Gulf coastline, if you can get out of the area, it will be very hard to get out of the area once the storm has started. And it is going to be very significant. Even though it's a tropical storm, we are seeing kind of the perfect scenario for destruction. And as you can see, New Orleans is right at the front of it. Kind of right at it all. So I do not have access to... Oh. Nope, that is wind gust potential. I can't find the evacuation orders, but I do know that New Orleans is under a storm surge warning, tropical storm warning, flash flood watch. If I was in that situation, I would hope there's a evacuation order. If not, I would just get out. It hasn't hit yet, but I am thinking that it's going to be very, very significant, especially before it makes landfall and we start to see winds starting to push in this direction, in the direction of New Orleans, carrying the ocean in the direction of New Orleans. With that, I'm going to leave a link to my deep dive tropical cyclones. If you want to learn more about the effects of a tropical cyclone and what you can do, and stay safe if you live in the areas being affected, please follow evacuation orders. And if you're not in the evacuation ordered area, please trust your gut, trust your instincts. If you think that you shouldn't be there, trust your instincts. Most of the time, they are right.